Welcome back to another edition of Fly Tying for Beginners with Jim Misiura. Today I'm going to tie a Pat's rubber legs. The hook that I have in the vise is a curved shank. This is a number 8. This is a Hemingway curved shank hook. It's a nice black hook. I have a 3.3 millimeter black bead on there. The other materials that we're going to need is, this is rubber legs. This is all stuck together, and then we're going to show you how we take that apart. And the final thing that we're going to need is black chenille. And if you're wondering how I got all of this, this is just a 100-yard skein of black chenille. Buying the chenille by 100 yards is a lot cheaper than picking up them 3-foot sections at the fly shops. I'm just gonna cut myself off a piece, a nice piece here, and I'm gonna cut this down even further. I'm gonna cut this down to about 6 inches. Makes it a little easier to work with. And the final thing that material we're going to use is, I'm going to add even more weight to it, and I'm going to use 20 thousandths lead-free wire. The guy that I'm making these for wants to have them sink like a rock and not have to use any additional weight on the line. So here we go. First thing we're going to do is we're going to take our little rubber leg material, and I'm going to pull off a single one. And these are about, I would say, 10 inches long. I'm going to go ahead and fold it in half, and I'm just going to come close on the bottom. Just going to fold them in half. I'm going to cut that. Go ahead and fold them in half again. Just have to come close and cut them again. Now I'm going to take one and I'm going to fold this in half. First thing we need to do is get some thread on that hook. We're going to tie our thread in right there at the eye. Go ahead and break off that excess. Now we have this folded in half, and we're going to tie this in. Just take that loop, hold it there, and tie it in. Depending on the size of the bead that you're using, you may need to be careful on this. You have to make sure that that bead is going to slide up over it. So we're going to wrap this right up to the eye. And you could kind of give them a tug there. I don't know if you saw that was coming up out. Kind of had a little bit of the rubber leg was folded up there. And get them right to the eye. There's one, there's the other. I'm going to bring my thread back a ways. I'm going to put a half hitch in, or a whip finish in there. Whip finish, just put the hook, go around the camel hump. Now you have an X. Now my whip finish is upside down, so to speak, just once, twice, 3 times. The reason I'm putting the whip finish way back here is after I slide the bead up, I'm going to reconnect the thread, and I will get that front thread secured by another piece of thread, not just the knot. I'll have an additional piece of thread on there. Go ahead and slide that up. position those eyes where you want them to be. Coming right out the top is good, because once the fly is done, when you go to tie it on, you know, you could move those legs out of the way. So we slide our bead up. Now we're gonna take our lead wire, or our lead free wire, and I'm usually start about at the point of the hook and just wrap it all the way up. Actually 26 wraps. And then that little piece there, I'm going to wrap that, so it might be 27 wraps on this fly. That's a pretty heavy fly right there. Now this Pat's rubber legs, has a frustration factor. If I could put a frustration number on it, 1 to 5, this is a 5. Now we're going to take our thread once again, we're going to reattach. And we could put a little bit of thread going up. And you get that thread between the lead wires and the thread that we tied off below. The lead wire will get secured once again. Now I'm going to bring my thread back slightly around the bend here. I'm going to take another piece, that small piece, I'm going to fold that in half, and I'm going to tie that in just by the folded piece, and I usually put that tag in right to the lead, so that way you don't have a little bit of a step there, and you can actually pull your legs back. There we go. Now there's the frustration part, getting now there you're going to get 3 sets of legs going in here. But we're going to take our black chenille and we're going to expose the thread that's in there. Just pull that fluff off. There we go. I got the threads that's in there, and I'm going to tie them in. And I'm going to bring my thread up about maybe 1/3 the way. Now I'm going to take my chenille. I'm going to move that leg just a little bit. There we go. I'm going to take my chenille and I'm going to wrap that. Just hold those legs so that they don't move. I'm just holding that rubber leg. This is the closer one. And I'm going to wrap this up to my 1/3 spot. Now I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to give it like 3 wraps of thread right there. And I'm pretty tight. I'm going to put a couple wraps in front, and I'm putting my chenille up into my material clip at this point. I'm going to take my next leg, and we're just going to lay that across. You want to get it approximately in the middle. I'm going to position my first leg, and then I'm going to, if you notice here, here's the leg is back here, the thread is a little bit forward, so you make about 1 mil or 2 forward, and then you can take that leg and fold it back and then wrap on top of it in order to get it where you want it on the body, on the side of the leg or the side of the hook shank. Now you take your chenille again, and you could wrap this a couple of times. Just grab those legs and keep them on the side. And I'm going to secure that. Give that about 3 wraps. Bring that back. Now we're going to take the next leg and we're going to tie that in. Something you don't want to do is you don't want to tie all sets of legs in and then try to wrap your chenille. Wrap it as you're going. Because you can imagine trying to work with all of these rubber legs. Position that on the side where I want it. Now I move it forward about 2 millimeters. Pull that leg back. Wrap on top. And then I'm going to advance my thread there a little bit. I'm going to go ahead and wrap my chenille again. Grab that leg. And now this one on this side is a little bit forward, so I'm going to give it a nice tight wrap. And I'm going to tie that down. So using your chenille helps position the rubber legs. It's a fairly simple fly, but it's frustrating with all of the legs and all of the rubber hanging off. Then we're going to advance our thread just a little bit to our next position. I'm going to take our last piece of rubber leg. We're going to lay that on there. And we're going to position that. Get that on my side first. Pull that one onto the other side. Keep it on the side and keep that in. And you can secure that. I'm going to move my thread right up to the bead. See, I'm going to move that front leg out of the way. This is where the frustration of it, if you tied all 3 sets of legs in before you started wrapping your chenille. And then we're going to wrap in front of them. And I'm grabbing rubber legs as I'm going. This could be a frustration factor of 5. Take that. Then we're going to secure that. Go ahead and trim that off. And then after you trim that, you're going to have a little piece of fluff there, so you can go ahead and pull that out. And then we can secure it. Take our whip finish. Now you have to be careful of these rubber legs here. Hook it, go around the camel hump, get your X, and every time you turn it, always make sure these front rubber legs are not caught in the thread. And now we're going to tighten that up, take it off the camel hump, pull it, take the hook out, tighten that up, trim that off. Going to put a little bit of head cement in there. Going to put it right there on that bead and let it slide down. Now the length of the legs that you want is really up to you, but we're going to go ahead. I'm going to take the legs, whether you pull them to the bottom or the top, and when you pull them, I'm going to pull them to the bottom and I'm going to turn it over. You don't want to pull them like that tight. Just pull them so that you can kind of get them even. If you can see, they're not even. So I'll just take them, measure it by the shortest one, and just cut just around a little bit off that shortest piece. Now for the tail and the antenna, like I said, you could cut them to the size you want, leave them very long if you want. I'm going to go ahead and trim them. The tail, I'm going to make it about a body length. And the antenna, about the same. I'm just going to take a little bit off the front. Let me widen that out there a bit. And here we have the Pat's rubber legs. You can see we got nice, it's going to imitate a stonefly. Got a nice long legs on there. Like I said, frustration level is pretty high on this one. Take your time. After you do a few, you'll get the hang of it. It took me 5 or 6 before I figured out the best way for me to do them. And hope that you learned something from this video. Hope that you would subscribe to my channel. Please refer me to your friends. Please visit my sponsors. Let them know I sent you. Leave comments, questions, suggestions. If you'd like to purchase this or any flies that I tie, go to etsy.com/shop/theflymanjim. If you don't see it, simply message me and we'll figure it out. And most of all, thank you very much for watching my videos.